and I don't know why. I'll keep an eye on it and we'll just keep going. I'm going to position this so that I can keep an eye on the stream status in the streaming software and see my notes at the same time. And that way, if something happens with the stream, I can catch it right away. And I'm going to check on YouTube. Okay, YouTube, it started a whole brand new stream. I'm sorry, YouTube viewers. I'm so sorry. We'll get you a full unbroken stream uploaded after the fact, hopefully in time for you to do this practice with the actual new moon solar eclipse itself, which takes place, of course, tomorrow, like we talked about earlier in the broadcast. And I'm just updating my notes because we've talked about some things that just kind of popped in there as we were going that weren't in my notes, and I don't want to forget that we talked about those. So Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, right? As the modern ruler, it's also ruled by Mars. We talked about that as well. Let's talk about Pluto having domain over death and rebirth and transformation. Now, Pluto's type of transformation is specifically predicated on the destruction of what comes before. This is metamorphosis. This is the imagery and the archetype of the phoenix rising from its ashes, right? The ashes of its own destruction, reborn, stronger than before, better than before. Now, that destruction, is it painful? Oh, yes. Is it unavoidable? Oh, yes. Is it uncomfortable? Oh, yes. Will we struggle with it? Oh, yes. And this is where it's so important to hold on for dear life to the idea of, as we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, embracing that destruction, embracing the pain of rebirth, and having faith that all of these things are happening for your highest good. When the phoenix is reborn from its own ashes, when it's immolating in fire, does it know that it's going to be reborn? No, it doesn't. Does the caterpillar, when it goes through the metamorphosis, the transformation that is necessary to become the butterfly where it can take flight, does it know that this painful transformation where it's trapped in a cocoon for a period of time and then has to fight its way free, does it know that it's going to sprout wings and be able to take flight when before it had to creep its way along a branch and eat leaves? Maybe not. But if you can trust that the universe has your highest good in mind every step of the way, even the worst experiences, even the most difficult and uncomfortable and painful experiences can be navigated much more gracefully. We can be reminded not to fight against change because it's inevitable, and especially the kind of change that eclipse brings, because an eclipse change is often beyond our ability to control. It's typically out of our hands, and all we can do is deal with it and adjust to it, accommodate that change in our lives, and find a way to move forward. And so what I want to encourage you to do is tap into faith as you navigate this type of change that involves your destruction or some sort of destruction in your life, and embrace the knowledge that coming through this destruction is going to be an opportunity for profound rebirth, accompanied by metamorphosis, and that the changes inherent in metamorphosis are for your highest good and will work out to your benefit as you move forward in life. Okay? So, the 8th house, Scorpio, this is occult energy, right? So it's embodied by, excuse me, like the archetype of the psychologist. It's about secrets, right? It's all about secrets. Occult literally means hidden. So this is what's kept secret from us. And the psychologist is a keeper of secrets, right? Don't they take an oath of confidentiality? And you tell them all your secrets, right? And they work with you to heal, potentially, right? The investigator and the researcher, this is the discoverer of secrets, right? And the mystic or the alchemist, this is the student of secrets, the student of secret or forbidden or hidden knowledge. Okay. Now, the 8th house also has to do with taboos, things that are forbidden. And so you may see taboo as a theme around lunations related to Scorpio, related to the 8th house. And that is potentially even a way that we were talking about earlier in the broadcast, the risk of scandal associated with this eclipse. It may be around some sort of taboo behavior or some sort of socially unacceptable behavior, things that we typically wouldn't want to be caught engaging in, right? So just be aware of that and kind of keep them in mind as you move through the eclipse and its unfolding as well. I'm going to check on YouTube real quick. We're still broadcasting there, but it's not a strong stream. And so I apologize to the YouTube viewers. I will get the full video uploaded for you after the fact so that you'll have it in an unbroken format. I apologize that we're struggling with this today. I'm not sure what the issue is. Thankfully with Facebook, it just plugged the stream right into the existing broadcast. So you might have some gaps, but it should all be one complete broadcast if you're watching the live stream from the Sidereal Insights Astrology Facebook group. That's where we broadcast when we do the new moon and full moon guided practices. So now moving on, what I want you to do, this is where you're going to grab your pen and paper, right? And I want you to keep in mind the themes of the house that Scorpio occupies in your sidereal natal chart. Now, where this is an eclipse, feel free to take it where you feel led. Follow your intuition. So I'm going to suggest you work with the house that Scorpio's in. But if you feel led or called to take your intention setting for this new moon in a different direction, by all means do it, because it is an eclipse. And I would encourage you to follow where you feel led. Okay. But I want you to consider the following prompts as you work to set your intentions. What action can you take to allow yourself to be open and vulnerable? And where this is relevant to Scorpio, and in some ways Scorpio's counterpart water sign Cancer. So these two signs, they're represented by creatures that have a very unique quality to them. And that is that these creatures are soft and tender on the inside, but they have this hard carapace around them, this hard outer shell that's difficult to penetrate. Okay? And whereas with Cancer, that can also sometimes manifest as not being direct, sidestepping things, right? Or coming or approaching things from the side rather than head on, right? Because crabs move sideways, don't they? They scuttle sideways. With Scorpio, this is about risking pain and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Putting away the stinger, basically. So I want you to consider, what action can you take to allow yourself to be more open, more vulnerable? Where and what are you resisting doing or hesitating to try because you have to make yourself vulnerable in order to do it? Vulnerable to a person, or vulnerable to judgment, or vulnerable to rejection, or vulnerable to criticism, those sorts of things, right? And will you make the conscious decision to face this fear of vulnerability, this reluctance to be vulnerable, and follow it up with action? And what action is that? And are you willing to tap into Mars's courageous and brave nature in order to do it? Mars, of course, being the co-ruler of Scorpio. Where can you dive deeper? And what steps do you need to take to do that? What part of your life really needs you to get deeply involved? And how can going deeper into something that you might be resisting, going deeper into, how can that help you move forward? What seed can you plant to bring transformation to this area of life? And how can you demonstrate to the universe that you welcome and are open to that transformation? How can you embrace it? How can you demonstrate your willingness to embrace it? And what action can you take to demonstrate that? What seed do you need to plant to transform your relationship with wealth, your relationship with sex, your relationship with your personal power, or with your need to feel in control? And then finally, where do you have a need to be reborn? Okay. So this is where we want to embrace our own destruction or loss in some way in our lives, which paves the way for a rebirth. Okay. Being born again, right? So everyone's going to take a few minutes to write about those things. Excuse me while I pop my hip. I'm going to recap those prompts really quickly, but first I want to read you the moon gazing journal, right? We do this every time. Let's see what it has to say for today. It says, the waxing moon is an ideal time to do magical spells for growth and initiation and to begin new projects, spells to banish evil influences, remove obstacles, and calm your energies. Calm your enemies are best done during a waning moon. So, magical spells for growth and initiation at the waxing moon, beginning new projects, banishing evil influences, removing obstacles, and calming your enemies at the waning moon. Okay? And that's really in line with what we teach within astrology, that new moons are for beginnings and full moons are for endings. Okay? So if you are ready, you kind of know what you're going to tackle initiation-wise, go ahead and get started with your writing. I'm going to recap these prompts really quick, and then I'm going to dive in to my own intention setting. So, what action can you take to allow yourself to be more open and vulnerable? What are you resisting doing or hesitating to try because you have to make yourself vulnerable to someone or something to do it? This is, themes around judgment or rejection or criticism. Will you make the conscious decision to face this fear of vulnerability and to follow it up with action? What action is that? What outcome are you striving for? Get specific, get clear. Okay? And are you willing, are you capable of embracing and embodying Mars's ability to be courageous and brave in order to do it? Okay? Where can you dive deeper? What steps do you need to take to do that? And how can going deeper help you move forward? What seed can you plant to bring transformation to this area of your life? How can you show the universe that you welcome transformation, that you're open to transformation and change? And what actions can you take at the first light of the new moon to demonstrate this? What seed can you plant to transform your relationship with wealth, with sex, with your personal power, or with your need to feel in control? And finally, where do you need to be reborn? How do you need to be reborn? Okay, So everyone take a few minutes, write out your intention setting, and then we'll circle back. Hopefully share in the comments, share in the live broadcast if we have viewers on. I love reading your intention setting and releasing practices in the comments. It's a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable. I will share mine as soon as I'm done. And everyone, feel free to hop to it. All right. I'm done. Don't know about y'all. Take your time. If you need more time, that's fine. I'm pulling my bow out. I don't want to undo. See, my shirt has a little bow on it, and I keep catching the tails of the bow between my crossed legs and yanking out my bow. It's no bueno, I tell you. No bueno. Anyway, so here's what I wrote. This is kind of an interesting time for me, and this is coming at a very opportune time for me. And as I was writing out my intention setting, and I'll actually write out another intention setting in the coming days where I'm very specific and clear about the outcome of what I want from tapping into this new moon. And I like, because it's an eclipse, I prefer to do these for rising sign and sun sign. And so I've noted for me, I have Gemini rising. So the new moon is taking place in my 6th house in Scorpio. And by sun sign, my 11th house or 5th, because I have Capricorn sun. And so I'll probably circle back around and do another one for the 11th and 5th around those themes. But here's what I wrote. I wrote that it's my intention, to transform my work in the world and the way that I approach it through my workaday life, moving into the new year, moving into 2021. And I intend for this transformation to reflect the changing landscape of the world that we live in, because the landscape of the world that we live in has changed dramatically in the last 12 months, correct? And my changing needs and the changing needs of my business, as have been made clear by the experiences of the last 24 months. And so the last 24 months experiences that I've gone through have been related to the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. Some of you know, maybe not all of you know, I've been through a divorce in that time. So I'm kind of embarking on a new life as a single person. That's affected a lot of things. It's affected my path forward. It's affected what are my goals going forward? What do I want out of life going forward? What do I want to manifest going forward? That picture is dramatically different now than it might have been 2 years ago, before any of that was on my radar, right? And then same thing with the picture of how I operate in the world and in my business based on the changing environment of the world that we find ourselves in. And so I wrote, I intend to create/design a path forward in these areas which aligns with what's important to me, aligns with my dreams, desires, and values. And I intend to construct new goals and new aspirations for my life, which reflect and honor the new space and the new circumstances in which I find myself. I intend to get clear on all of these things and what they look like, and to use that clarity as my launch point for creating a strategic action plan for the coming year. And I will begin this process and complete it over the early days of the coming week, so that I will be prepared to take firm, strategic, initiative action in the early days of the new moon in Scorpio. And partly I want to do that in the early days of the new moon in Scorpio because I want to try to avoid the energy in terms of making my initiation of Mercury in Sagittarius, where he's in detriment, right? Mercury rules my ascendant, is my chart ruler as well. And so I don't want to necessarily be taking my initiative step in this regard when he's in detriment, right? I want to take advantage of the time while he's in Scorpio and being strategic and being analytical to make my initiation. So I'll have this very narrow window of opportunity. But what it was just occurring to me is that, so today, of course, we're doing the New Moon Intention Setting broadcast. And then tomorrow we have our Sidereal Insights Astro update on the Mystick Physick Astrology Facebook page. And I'll broadcast that also live here on YouTube. So join me for that. I go live at 1:30 Mountain Time every other Monday for the Sidereal Insights Astro update. But tomorrow evening, after my broadcast, I actually will be participating in a group business strategy planning session. And I had totally forgotten about that until earlier today. I got a reminder in my phone, and it didn't even occur to me that this, I hadn't done that intentionally. It was just an offer that had been extended to me, and I went, yeah, I'd love to join. But how perfect that business strategy planning session is happening right at the time that I would want to be making a new plan going forward for what does my workaday life look like? What am I going to do to serve my clients? What does that service look like? How am I going to show up in the work that I do and how I serve the world? Because this is sixth house, right? That's how we serve the world. And so I'll have the opportunity going even into tomorrow evening to spend time really getting clear about what does the new version of all of this look like, and how can I reimagine it in a way that serves your needs, in a way that serves my needs, in a way that honors the changes that we've all been through, in a way that honors and reflects the changed world that we now live in, because that can affect the ways in which I can serve you best. And so how serendipitous that strategy session is tomorrow evening on the day of the eclipse. I'm really excited about that. I don't think I even planned that. It was just something that was offered. Hey, I'm doing a couple of these. Sign up if you want to join. And I went, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And what a perfect time of year, because this is when I would normally be doing my planning for the coming year for my business and my practice anyway. So I'm feeling really tickled right now to have looked at my calendar and realized that this was just almost divine timing for all of this to take place. And I really hope that for those of you who are setting intentions with this broadcast and with this eclipse, that you experience the same type of serendipity, the same type of divine timing in your own lives. That's just really neat. And I love witnessing those types of things in the world. That's always very, very fun to me. So I'm going to be keeping my intention setting book open right here with my planner, because I'm going to want to have it right next to me as I get into the business strategy session that I'll be participating in tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. And I hope that as you decide what intentions you want to set for the coming cycle, which normally we're talking about a 6-month cycle, but now we're talking about a year or longer, because this eclipse cycle is what we'll be experiencing through, I think I said May of 2022. We'll have the eclipses in the Scorpio Taurus axis of the chart. And so be thinking long term, be thinking big picture, be thinking what new path is the best path forward for you from this point on over those coming 2 years that we have, okay? Or a year and a half now, because we're at the end of 2020. So please, as you set your intentions, I would love if you would share them in the comments. I really, really enjoy being a partner with you and coming along on your journey. And I welcome you to come along with me on mine. And when you're able to share your intentions in the comments, whether on Facebook or on YouTube, it's always very special. And I love going on that journey with you. And so I would invite you to do that. I want to invite you to really tap into your clarity. I would invite you to really tap into what do you want your rebirth to look like? so that you can truly leverage this solar eclipse in Scorpio energy and tap into it in a way that serves your highest and best good, and the highest and best good of those around you, those you interact with, those you deal with. I want to thank you for joining me. I don't really have a lot on the announcements other than, and I know I keep saying this, please stay tuned for the release of the Ultimate Astrological Planner. It is still in process for 2021. There are a few kinks that we're working out at this stage of the game, but it is in process. It will launch with a Lahiri version available as well for those of you who prefer the Lahiri zodiac. And the Lahiri version of the planner will include the Indian holidays as well, not the US and more European holidays. So I have made that tweak, that adjustment for you, if that's the perspective that you like to approach your astrology and your astrological planning from. So watch for that. It's coming. It's very exciting. And I apologize. I normally would have this ready months ago, and this year has just not been the year for that. So I thank you for your patience. But on that note, I do want to let you know, because many of you have been with me on this journey, as I've gone through not only my divorce, but also the journey of my experience with COVID earlier in the year when I caught COVID in March. And that experience has lingered. It's been quite drawn out for me. But the good news is, the exciting news is that I'm finally feeling very much more myself. And I'm really excited now that I kind of am feeling much more myself to just hit the ground running coming into 2021. I feel a lot more optimistic about the future. I know that it's time to wipe the slate clean and start fresh as far as all that goes. And I hope that you as well recognize where in your life it's time to wipe the slate clean and start fresh, and that you can step into embodying the courage and bravery of Mars to allow yourself to do that, to allow yourself the gift of your own transformation and rebirth. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight. And please like and share the broadcast. If you know someone who might benefit from what we've been talking about here today, please tag them or share it with them. And we'll see you again next time. Okay? Have a good evening.